Welcome back, Dash Nerds. Today I'm working on a pair of mid-century end tables. This is a matched pair of end tables made by the Mersman Furniture Company. And I'm not totally in love with the style of these, but it's been a long time since I've found anything worth taking home from the thrift store. And it is a matched pair, which is hard to come by. So I decided to buy them, and I'm hoping getting that old finish off and a fresh new finish on will make these a little bit more attractive. I'm going to start by scraping off the finish on the tops. Well, this is interesting. It looks almost like the veneer is sanded through here. And I noticed when I got the table that there was a dark area here. And I wonder if it's because they sanded through at the factory and just kind of made it extra dark there to hide it. Wouldn't be the first time I've seen something like that. These didn't always come perfect from the factory. Or maybe it was somebody's home repair job at some point. I don't know. Time to take the lower shelf off. Well, this is a lot tighter than I thought it would be. Not sure I'm going to be able to get this off, which is disappointing. There is a screw here and then one on the other side that's attaching the leg to this piece here. I'm going to try to get those screws out and see if maybe it'll give me enough give to get the bottom out. Well, that didn't work either. The legs are just too tight to get the shelf off, which is a good thing. It's good that the legs are still tight, but if I had known that I couldn't get the shelf off, I probably wouldn't have bought these because it just makes it so much more difficult to refinish. But I do have one more thing to try. There are some screws that go from the apron into the bottom of the top of the table. So I'm going to try to get those out, and then maybe, hopefully, the top isn't glued down to the apron and it'll come off, and that'll at least give me some easier access to the bottom and to the legs and all that. So see if that works. And look at that, it worked. On the legs and the sides, I'm going to use a stripper instead of scraping. And I'm using QCS stripper here. And I'm just going to put it on with my finger. And I'm choosing this just because of the shape of the legs and all the kind of small, tight areas I need to get into. All right, so the stripper's been on here for maybe about an hour. And here on this leg, you can kind of see this yellowish area here, and there's a yellowish area there, and then it's darker over here. And this is just where the old finish is already off. And this is where the finish still is holding on, those yellowish areas. So I'm going to see if I can get the finish off in those spots. Here you can see the dark areas where the original finish has come off, revealing the darker walnut underneath. And then the yellowish areas, which are where the original finish is still holding on, so I still need to get that off. And you can see the original finish is also off of here now, so that nice walnut color can come through. On the drawer fronts, I'm just going to scrape the finish off. Now it's time to do some sanding, and I'm just going to do it all by hand with some 150 grit paper. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I've got everything stripped and sanded. So now I just want to wet it down and get an idea of what it would look like with just a clear finish on it. I'm pleasantly surprised by the quality of the wood on these tables. The tops and the bottom shelves have some really nice walnut veneer, and then the legs are actually solid walnut, and the sides are also solid walnut, which is really unusual. Usually the sides or any flat pieces would be maybe plywood or MDF particle board with a walnut veneer on it. So this is the one that I stripped, and if I just wet it down with some water, you can see what the wood looks like underneath the old finish. This is the original finish that's still on this one. This is a good example of why I like to remove the old finish on these mid-century pieces, sometimes even if they're not damaged. This finish was in decent shape on the sides and the legs, but this was probably sprayed with a toner lacquer, a colored lacquer, to make everything a uniform color. Or at the very least, it was sprayed with a clear that just yellowed over time. But that yellowish kind of butterscotch color hides the true color of the wood underneath, which in my opinion is a lot nicer, in this case at least, because this is actually walnut. Sometimes it's not walnut. Well, actually, most of the time it's not walnut. It'll be some cheaper wood that's kind of, really light, maybe a whitish color. And in those cases, I guess I could see why they would spray it with a toner lacquer. But in this case, I think the natural walnut looks a lot better. So far, it's looking pretty good. At least this section, it's all pretty much uniform color and a nice walnut color. So I like that. I was a little concerned because I thought this leg was really dark compared to the side, where this was light compared to this. And this is definitely darker than this. I'm not sure if it's going to be an issue or if I just accept it as it is and that's just the way it looks. It is the back, after all, so won't be that visible probably in most settings. Let's see the back. See how this looks. That looks great. So the individual parts, like the legs and the sides and the shelf, they're not matching exactly, but I think that's okay. I don't mind that as long as it's not too jarring, too much contrast. I think it might be all right. I can start applying finish now, and I'm going to begin with just some clear shellac. So I've got a few coats of clear shellac on everything, and most of it looks really good, although this table has a bit of a two-tone thing going on here on this side between the legs and the side panel. This is a lot lighter than the legs. So not sure if I want to do something about that. Try to darken this a little bit. I don't want to rush into anything, so I'm going to think about it for a while. Although the other side seems to be better. It's not as light. This panel's not as light, so I think this one's fine. This side. It's just this side. The other table doesn't seem to have this problem. It's pretty much a uniform color all around. Okay, time to start touching up the veneer sand through on the top. And to do this, I'm going to try some pigments mixed with some amber shellac. See how that works. Okay, so here's what I ended up with. The touch-up is in the back corner there, and I think it looks pretty good. If anything, it's might be a little bit darker than the surrounding wood, but I don't know. I think it looks all right. Okay, so I've got one more touch-up to do right here on the edge, and actually another one over here. And this one, unlike the veneer sand through on the top, is actually my fault. I got a little too crazy with the scraper and I went a little bit over the edge and scraped off the veneer right here. And I get asked a lot if the scraper damages the veneer. And I always say no. But it can if you don't use it correctly, which I didn't here. I got a little careless and just went a little too far over the edge and it tore it off. But for the most part, the scraper does not damage the wood at all if you use it correctly. Otherwise, I wouldn't use it. So I'm just gonna touch this up just like I did the sand through on the top with the same shellac stuff. Should work, I think. I think that'll do. I can always touch it up later if I need to. But I'm gonna leave it there for now. Guess I should do this one too. Done. All right, so I think now I'm gonna try to do something about this contrast between those two pieces. It's not even too bad down at this end. The wood's a bit darker, but over here I'm just not crazy about how light this is compared to that. So I'm gonna try to apply some candlelight gel stain just to this part. See what happens. And the wood is mostly sealed by now because I put a few coats of shellac on it, so it's not really going to absorb a lot of stain, and the gel stain kind of tends to sit on top of the wood anyway, so it shouldn't be a drastic change, but hopefully it'll be enough. Yeah, I think that'll work. It toned down the contrast a bit, and I think it looks good. So I think I'm going to stick with shellac for the final finish, except for the tops and the lower shelf. I'm going to put some wipe-on oil polyurethane on those just for a little extra protection. Only thing left to do now is to buff it out with some fine steel wool and some wool lube. And when I'm done with this, then I'll wax the whole table and then put them back together. And here they are, all finished. Thanks for watching.